I was driving to my parents' house for Thanksgiving when my phone lit up with photos in the family group chat. My older sister Nicole was posting pictures from inside Grandma's house, the Victorian on Elm Street where we'd spent every holiday as children. Grandma had passed away 6 weeks ago at 92. We were still grieving, still processing. The funeral had been beautiful but heartbreaking. Nicole, starting to sort through Grandma's things. So many treasures here. Going to get the antique furniture appraised tomorrow. The china cabinet alone is probably worth $5,000. Aunt Mary, are you sure you should be doing that already? Has the estate been settled? Nicole, I'm the executor. Grandma left me in charge of everything. It's my responsibility to handle the estate. Already meeting with a realtor next week about listing the house. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. I pulled over into a parking lot and read the messages again. Mom, Nicole, maybe wait for the official reading? The lawyer said he'd contact everyone. Nicole, Mom, I have the paperwork right here. Grandma made me executor and left me the house. I'm just getting a head start on the process. The sooner we settle the estate, the sooner everyone gets their share. I opened my briefcase and pulled out a manila folder. Inside were documents I'd received 3 weeks ago from Richard Thornton, Grandma's estate attorney and trust manager. The Violet Morrison Family Trust. Established 12 years ago when Grandma sold her business and wanted to ensure her assets were properly managed and distributed. I'd driven to Richard's office the day after the funeral to understand the estate details. As I was the trustee. Not Nicole. I'd been named trustee and primary beneficiary of the house and the bulk of Grandma's estate. Nicole was receiving a cash bequest of $50,000 and some jewelry. Our cousin James was getting $25,000. Various other family members were getting smaller amounts and specific items. But the house, the 1890s Victorian worth approximately $650,000, along with its contents and Grandma's investment accounts totaling another $400,000, belonged to me through the trust. Grandma had been very clear about her reasoning in the letter Richard had given me. Nicole had visited twice a year, always asking about money and what she'd inherit. I'd visited every week, bringing groceries, handling Grandma's bills, taking her to doctor appointments and simply spending time with her. Nicole sees $, Grandma had written. You see me. That's why you get the house and the responsibility of managing my legacy. I hadn't told anyone yet. Richard had advised waiting for the official estate meeting he was scheduling. But clearly, Nicole had found some other paperwork, probably an old will from before the trust was established, and was using it to claim authority she didn't have. I texted Richard. Nicole is at Grandma's house claiming to be executor and planning to sell furniture and list the property. What should I do? His response came within minutes. She has no authority. The trust supersedes any previous wills. I'm sending you updated door codes for the house right now. Change them immediately. I'll contact Nicole directly and schedule an emergency estate meeting for Monday. A new text arrived with access codes and instructions for Grandma's smart lock system, something I'd helped her install 2 years ago for safety. I continued to Thanksgiving dinner with a knot in my stomach. The tension was obvious the moment I walked into my parents' house. Nicole was holding court in the living room, showing everyone photos of Grandma's house and discussing her plans for the estate. I'm thinking we sell the house as is, she was telling Aunt Mary and Uncle Tom. It needs too much updating to be worth renovating. We can split the proceeds among the family. Everyone gets something that way. What about the trust? I asked quietly, setting down my purse. Nicole turned, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Oh Jenna. There you are. Don't worry, the trust is just a formality. I'm the executor so I handle everything. You'll get your share like everyone else. What paperwork do you have that says you're executor? She pulled a document from her designer handbag. Right here. Grandma's will from 8 years ago. Names me as executor and primary beneficiary. It's all legal. I looked at the will. It was real, dated 8 years ago, properly notarized. But it was also superseded by the trust Grandma had established 4 years later. Nicole, this will is outdated. Grandma created a family trust in 2019 that supersedes this document. I haven't seen any trust paperwork, Nicole said dismissively. This is the most recent will, so this is what counts. I've already talked to a lawyer. Well, I called one. and he said wills are what matter. Trusts take precedence over wills when they exist. Did you actually speak to Grandma's estate attorney? I don't need to. I have the will right here. You need to speak to Richard Thornton. He's Grandma's estate attorney and the trust manager. He has the actual legal documents that govern the estate. Nicole's confident expression faltered slightly. Who's Richard Thornton? Grandma's lawyer for the past 12 years. The one who handled her business sale and set up her estate planning. You'd know that if you'd visited more than twice a year. The room went quiet. Mom looked uncomfortable. Dad was staring at his drink. I visited plenty, Nicole said defensively. I have a job and a family. I couldn't be there every single week like you playing the martyr. I wasn't playing anything. I was being Grandma's granddaughter. I spent time with her because I loved her, not because I wanted something from her. Are you saying I didn't love Grandma? I'm saying you're in her house right now appraising furniture and planning to sell her home 6 weeks after she died. You didn't even ask the family. You just decided you were in charge. Nicole's face went red. I am in charge. The will says so. The trust says otherwise. Richard Thornton will be contacting you directly. There's an estate meeting Monday at 10 a.m. You'll learn then what Grandma actually decided. I spent the rest of Thanksgiving in tense silence. Nicole left early, claiming she had estate business to handle. I knew she was going back to Grandma's house. After dinner, I drove to 847 Elm Street myself. Nicole's car was in the driveway. Through the front window I could see her moving around with boxes, clearly packing up items. I used the new access code Richard had sent and walked in. Nicole was in the dining room wrapping Grandma's china in newspaper. Several boxes were already packed and stacked by the door. What are you doing? I asked. What does it look like? I'm securing valuable items before they get damaged or lost. As executor, it's my responsibility. You're not the executor, Nicole. Put those down. This is ridiculous. You're just jealous that Grandma trusted me to handle things instead of you. I pulled out my phone and called Richard Thornton on speaker. Richard, it's Jenna. I'm at the house. Nicole is here packing up Grandma's belongings without authorization. Put her on, Richard said, his voice stern. I held out my phone. He wants to talk to you. Nicole reluctantly took it. Hello. I couldn't hear Richard's exact words, but I watched Nicole's expression change from irritation to confusion to shock. That can't be right, she said. I have the will right here. Says, no, I didn't know about a trust since 2019. But who's the trustee then? She looked at me, her face going pale. Jenna, she whispered. Jenna is the trustee? She handed the phone back to me without another word. Richard, I said. I've informed Nicole that she has no legal authority over the estate. The trust supersedes her outdated will. You're the trustee and primary beneficiary. She needs to leave the property immediately and return any items she's removed. I'm sending her a formal letter tonight. Thank you. After I hung up, Nicole stood frozen in the dining room, staring at the boxes she'd packed. Grandma left you everything, she finally said. Not everything. You're getting $50,000 and some of her jewelry. James and others are getting money too. But the house and the main estate, yes, Grandma left that to me through the trust. Why? Nicole's voice cracked. Why you and not me? I'm the oldest. Because I was here, Nicole. Every week for 3 years. I took Grandma to her doctor appointments when her hip hurt. I brought her groceries when she couldn't drive anymore. I spent evenings just sitting with her listening to her stories. You came twice a year and spent the whole visit talking about your vacation plans and asking if she'd thought about selling this house. I have a busy life. I couldn't just drop everything. Neither could I. I took vacation days. I rearranged my work schedule. I made it a priority because Grandma was important to me. Nicole sank into one of the dining room chairs. $50,000. That's it. That's more than most people get, Nicole. And it's what Grandma decided you deserved based on your relationship with her. Everyone's going to know. The whole family will know I didn't get the house. They'll know Grandma made thoughtful decisions about her estate based on who actually cared for her. There's no shame in that unless you make there be. Nicole stood up slowly. I need to unpack these boxes. Yes, you do. We spent the next hour returning items to their places. Grandma's china went back in the cabinet. The photos Nicole had taken down went back on the walls. The jewelry she'd already boxed up went back in Grandma's bedroom. When everything was restored, Nicole headed for the door. "For what it's worth," I said, "Grandma did love you. That's why she left you $50,000. She just loved me differently because I loved her differently." Nicole didn't respond. She just walked to her car and drove away. I changed the access codes on the locks before I left. Nicole's keys, the spare set Grandma had given her years ago, would no longer work. Only I had access now. Because it was my house. Grandma had made sure of that. The estate meeting Monday morning was tense. Richard Thornton's conference room held me, Nicole, our parents, Aunt Mary, Uncle Tom, and Cousin James. Richard sat at the head of the table with a thick folder of documents. "Let me be clear from the start," Richard began. "Violet Morrison established a comprehensive family trust in 2019. This trust supersedes all previous wills and governs the distribution of her entire estate. Any documents dated before 2019 are invalid." He looked directly at Nicole. "That includes the will you've been referencing." Nicole's face was red, but she said nothing. Richard distributed copies of the trust documents. "The primary beneficiary and trustee is Jenna Morrison. She receives the property at 847 Elm Street and its contents, along with the investment portfolio currently valued at $398,000. She also receives Mrs. Morrison's personal effects and the responsibility of managing certain ongoing family provisions." Mom gasped. Dad looked shocked. This was the first they were hearing the actual details. Nicole Morrison receives a cash bequest of $50,000 and specified jewelry items including Mrs. Morrison's pearl necklace and diamond earrings. James Morrison receives $25,000. Mary and Tom Henderson receive $15,000 jointly. Several other family members receive smaller bequests detailed in the document. Aunt Mary spoke up. "Why wasn't the family told about this trust sooner?" Mrs. Morrison chose to keep the details private until her passing. She made her decisions based on her relationships and who she believed would responsibly manage her legacy. "And she thought Jenna would manage it better than Nicole?" Uncle Tom asked. "She thought Jenna earned it through consistent care and dedication," Richard said firmly. The trust documents include a letter from Mrs. Morrison explaining her reasoning. Jenna has that letter. Whether she chooses to share it is up to her. Everyone looked at me. I pulled out Grandma's letter and read the key passage aloud. "Nicole visits twice a year and always asks about money. Jenna visits every week and never asks for anything except how I'm feeling. That's the difference between someone who loves an inheritance and someone who loves a person. Jenna gets the house because she earned it with love, not because she was born first." The room was silent. Nicole stood abruptly. "I need some air." She left. Mom followed her out. Richard continued explaining the estate details. "The house was mine outright. No mortgage, clear title. The investment portfolio would transfer to accounts in my name. The cash bequests would be distributed within 60 days. One more thing," Richard added. "Mrs. Morrison included a provision that if anyone contests the trust, they forfeit their bequest entirely. She wanted to discourage legal battles." He looked toward the door where Nicole had exited. Dad spoke for the first time. "Nicole won't contest it. She's hurt and surprised, but she's not stupid. She'll accept the $50,000. "I hope you're right," Richard said. After the meeting, I found Nicole in the parking lot, sitting in her car. I knocked on the window. She rolled it down. "I know you're angry," I said. "I'm humiliated," Nicole corrected. "I told everyone I was inheriting Grandma's house. I posted about it. I bragged about being executor. Now everyone knows I was wrong." "You weren't wrong. You just had outdated information. I had a will that said I was important to Grandma. Now I have a trust that says I wasn't important enough." "You were important. $50,000 proves that. But Grandma needed someone reliable and present, and that was me. It's not a judgment on your worth as a person, Nicole. It's a recognition of the relationship we each had with her." Nicole wiped her eyes. "Are you keeping the house?" "I don't know yet. Maybe. Or maybe I'll sell it and use the money to start the nonprofit Grandma and I always talked about, helping seniors stay in their homes longer. She'd like that legacy." "She would," Nicole admitted. "She always talked about how hard aging alone can be. Because she experienced it. And I saw it firsthand. Nicole started her car. I'm sorry I barged into the house and started taking things. That was wrong. Thank you for saying that. She drove away and I stood in the parking lot looking at the trust documents in my hands. My grandmother's legacy. My responsibility now. The house at 847 Elm Street, the investments, the jewelry, the photos, all of it was mine to protect and honor. Not because I was the oldest or the favorite, but because I'd shown up. Week after week. Year after year. And Grandma had noticed. 6 months later I still own the house at 847 Elm Street. I've restored the garden Grandma loved, repainted the exterior in the original Victorian colors, and started hosting family dinners once a month. Something Grandma always wanted. Nicole comes to the dinners now. We're not close but we're civil. She bought a new car with part of her bequest and put the rest in savings. She told me recently that Grandma's letter hurt at first, but eventually helped her realize she'd been so focused on inheritance that she'd missed the relationship. I wish I'd visited more, she said at last month's dinner. Not for the money. Just to know her better. Me too, I said. I wish you'd had more time with her. The family trust also included provisions I hadn't known about initially. Grandma had set up small education funds for her great-grandchildren, Nicole's kids, James's daughter, all of them. She'd allocated money for family reunions every 5 years. She'd even left funds to maintain her gravesite and donate flowers to the nursing home where she'd volunteered for 20 years. She'd thought of everything. Planned for everyone. But she'd given me the house and the responsibility because she trusted me to honor her wishes and care for her legacy the way I'd cared for her. Last week I found a photo album in Grandma's closet I'd never seen before. It was filled with pictures of me at the house, helping her plant flowers, bringing over dinner, just sitting on the porch talking. Every visit documented. On the last page in Grandma's handwriting, "This is what love looks like. Not money or property but time and presence. Jenna earned this house one Tuesday afternoon at a time." I cried reading that. Guess it was true. I didn't get the house because I was born first or because I manipulated an elderly woman. I got it because I showed up with groceries and conversation and genuine care, every single week for 3 years. Nicole had keys that stopped working the night she tried to claim something she hadn't earned. I have keys that work because I earn them one visit at a time. The difference isn't in the keys. It's in the love that forged them. Grandma knew that. Now everyone else does too.